Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 49 of the Sickcast, aka the Siblings in Cardboard podcast. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my buddy slash co-host, Thomas, and a very special guest, Mr. Will. Whether you're a veteran card gamer or a first timer just testing the waters, we are all siblings in cardboard. Guys and Will, thank you for joining us here from none other than the card guys himself. How have things been since the last time we talked on Saturday at that cool invitational?
Happy to be here, and things have been great. That invitational was a very fun tournament, and it was pretty good for me.
Yeah, so we had 20 total signups. We could have definitely attracted more people. I think there was just like 6 people from the local Atlanta area that I could think of that couldn't come out that particular weekend.
And a
I want
teammate
to,
of mine, Ed, he caught a sickness that weekend, so he just had to stay home and try and get better.
yeah. So I hope Ed and his family are feeling a little better. I don't know if they caught a cold or COVID or whatever, but I know his whole family was sick.
He sounded miserable.
Yeah, let me get the thanks out of the way so I don't forget. First of all, big thanks to Noah, the guy right here, and MinMax Gaming for making the price support awesome. We really made $500 stretch a really long way.
Mm-hmm.
Big thanks to Level Up, especially their site in Duluth. That venue is amazing. I think there was a Star Wars 1K happening at the same time, and I don't even think we filled up half the tables because they just have an awesome store. And
So much
special
room.
thanks to Wes Wilson, our judge,
Big
who
thanks, Willis.
who made it happen. We couldn't make it happen without a judge. It has to be a sanctioned event to give that Realm Rumble invite out. So yeah, thanks to Wes for coming to judge and help run the event. So
Very cool.
So how did you do, Will?
I won. Technically, I split the finals, but I won.
Way. The
It was a
winner
pretty
himself.
sweet event.
So I know that this is probably a much smaller event than some of your more recent accolades, like top 8 at nationals.
It's true, that happened as well.
This guy is pretty good at Azalea.
Azalea is a pretty fun deck. I think a lot of it is getting in the reps. I've played her for a while now and played very many games, so it's very easy for me to spot, like, okay, this hand does this, even if it's a weird hand that maybe someone wouldn't recognize right off rip what their best options are. And also, I've learned how best to gambler with her. It almost feels like you're not gambling when you put yourself in situations where no matter what you hit off the top of the deck with your blind Azalea, it's not going to matter. And as long as you put yourself in those situations, she really feels like she's cheating. It's a wicked fun deck.
Unless it's a knock the death whistle.
Yeah, that's the one miss. The knock the death whistle, but it still has reload. So as long as you have an arrow in hand, you can still get yourself out of that situation too. But that's feels bad.
Are you? And when you say that, like, I know there's probably some cases where you're actually counting the amount of arrows and pumps. Like, if it needs to be an arrow, like if you're like, well, this got to be an arrow off the top, and I'm winning, and it's going to be blind. Like you might as well know your odds.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you'll count what you've pitched and what's in your graveyard, stuff like that. But generally speaking, it kind of just boils down to, like, do I still have my snaps? If I still have my snaps, then I'm allowed to be greedy and find an extra pump whenever I want. Because if it's just an arrow, well, now it's just a pump that costs me my snaps, but it's still more damage. And like bolt and shot situations, it's just there's a lot of scenarios where it's like, okay, I can't miss right now. Literally, there isn't a miss in my deck. So as long as you know that, then you're fine.
What were your matchups?
My matchups were pretty cool. I started off with a round 1. Was that a Kano? Or was that round 2?
I think you played against a Rhinar round 1.
Oh, that's right. That was against the local friend of mine, Randall. I fought against Reinar. We had a good back and forth match where we were both just hitting each other. I think I got a turn 0 dominate that leaked 7, so he started the match at 33. So after the 4th haymaker of us just like no blocking and punching each other, I guess he was blocking. But I was on the front foot just because that 7 damage so early made it so that my haymakers were a lot more threatening. It was a fun game though. And then next up was a Kano. The Kano matchup is so fun because, like, Kano can just get you. You play so few blues, but ever since the Azaleas started running Spell Void 2 and the natural AB 2, you can protect yourself pretty decently. Like even if you go shields down, you still can stop 2 of the wildfire, which is sometimes good enough. And if you catch a blue, like against the Kano I fought, I went shields down for like a brief moment when I pitched my red to draw off of Death Dealer, and I'm thinking, it's if this is a blue off the top, then we're golden. And I drew a blue, so when he went for it, it's like, oh, cool. I can use my AB2, my Spell Void 4, or get up to 4, and then still have 1 floating to stop a little more to weaken the Blazing Aether. So that match is just so much fun. It was a friend of mine as well, Jeremy. I remember before the game started, I said like, "Hey, I've got a secret for you. Instead of 3 blues, I'm on 5 this weekend." And he's like, "Oh, I don't care about that. I just don't want you to be on Spell Void too." And I'm like, "Well, on that too."
So
And then my next match was my first win or first loss. I caught a loss to a Victor. It was 1-1 though, which is pretty exciting. But Victor's so hard. What were you saying?
I was going to ask, did you do 3 Kano matchups that day?
I think just Jeremy twice. I fought
Okay.
him once in Swiss and then again in the top 8
Okay, you never played
or top
Evan?
4. No, no. Although I fight Evan all the time. He's my local Sunday guy. I see him at the LGS every Sunday. And he's probably half the reason I've got a decent time into Kanos because he's a good Kano player and I fight him a lot. So it's good to have locals who kind of give you a little extra practice on certain matchups like that. I'm very grateful. After the Victor, I think I fought 2 news in a row, which is very funny. At armories lately, I've been having just an awful time into new. I've gotten fatigued a few times, like even trying to play around fatigue. Just the news were very good at doing their job. And then another one that disrupted me the whole match and like attack reacted me the whole match enough that I just died with plenty of deck left, just died. So these matches were kind of crazy. I don't know if it was maybe slightly different new tech or what, but there's a small chance that I was just running hot as the sun because I just was wrecking shop. Except for the rematch that Donnie gave me in the top 8, he did get me to 1. But the match we fought in Swiss, I think I beat him 20-0, which like Azalea
Wow.
should have a harder time against new than that. But I think my deck was just running hot as the sun that day, which is always nice.
I mean, that's a pretty polarized matchup in terms of who starts doing unfair things too. I mean, she starts with a double Justinic off of a you better show me it, bonds. The
Hmm.
next thing you know, you got cards flying off the top of your deck, and you're like, man, this sucks.
It's a great point, actually. It's probably pretty one-sided depending on who starts doing the one-sided things first.
Right. I mean, because New has some pretty unfair things where you're just like, I want to keep my hand, and she's like, not today.
Nah. That was one thing. The first new I fought in Swiss was running what's the name of the mask? Mask of
Mask of
Agony?
recurring
Recurring
nightmares.
Nightmares. Recurring Nightmares. They were on Transverse or Traverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I
Donnie
was
was on.
like,
Yeah.
I was just like, that's interesting. And he did something cool with it, but Mask is so annoying. When they just hit a card out of your hand every turn, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's on the average ripping 5 points instead of just,
Yeah.
2 or 3. A lot
Mhm.
of times Azalea's cards are 3 with an on hit, and if it's a dominate arrow, the on hit's guaranteed.
Mhm. But yeah, it was a very fun time. The top 8 went great. Got to face again against Donnie, and we had a very close match. It was 1-1, but I got him with a late game dominate. And then the next game was against the Kano again. That was just a little bit of his deck being a little clunky. I think his stuff wasn't exactly lining up. That was one thing in the Kano match earlier in Swiss. I had a near blunder, almost got myself probably potentially knocked right out of top 8 if I had lost that round. I think, but I went shields down. But I didn't need to go shields down. The turn prior on the Kano's turn, he threw Aether Flare at me for 2. I'm like, if I stop this 2, it's like I'm stopping 4. I'll pitch these 2 reds to stop 4. That's great. And then the next turn when I go shields down and I'm attacking him and he's like, let me think about this. I'm like, oh God, I wish I had those 2 cards right now.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily he didn't have the hand to go for it, but he was like a blue off for probably just blowing me out of the water. So that was a good learning moment. I'm sitting there sweating bullets, thinking like, don't you ever stop 2 damage to stop 4 ever again.
Yeah, spindle on their turn can be so spooky, right? Like
Hmm.
Ivy now to prevent them
That's the
from
one thing I might
opting.
pitch into. Might pitch into a spindle, but yeah, I feel you.
Oh, what
'Cause
was it
sometimes
that
it's bait.
what was it that they threw that you said it was spindle?
No, it was
Oh, it's
blue.
Aether.
blue flare.
Oh, okay.
There.
Okay. I see now.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your next round of top 8? Oh yeah, I guess it was the split after that.
This would be the finals against a Prism. But it's long day. The Prism's tired. I'm like, ugh, Prism. Hey, you want to split? And he said yes.
So the Prism was Damian Riggins, who's also like can sometimes be considered like a local final boss if you consider the Alabama part of the
Alabama,
locality.
yes, most certainly.
He's a very, very accomplished Prism player, and he drove in, and I think he was awake at like 1 a.m. my time when I went to bed, and he had to get up like at 4 o'clock to get there on time.
Oh my goodness.
So he shows up and he's super tired, and he's talking, and he's like, dude, I think I just almost shuffled my hand into my deck when I went to search for an angel. So yeah, he was kind of waking out. It just shows that he just naturally plays Prism. He doesn't have to think about it like super deep, because he was extremely tired. I would have liked to have watched the match at least, but he's just like, concede, now let's leave. And then they got stuck in traffic for like 4 extra hours.
Oh, dude. It was a nightmare leaving that parking lot.
It was a nightmare.
It took us an hour just to get out of the parking lot. I drove like
crazy
all different corners of like this giant, basically like group of shops to finally find a corner that what I could get out of.
It's like everybody just decided they wanted to show up to dilute that. They're just like, let's show up.
Exact same time.
And then they had like construction going on at 85, and that's like the only way to get out of that area is to ride down that interstate or take back roads. So I went and took back roads to get out of the area. So I
took back roads as well.
The final top 8 was Azalea with you on Azalea, Nu, Kano, Zen, Prism, Victor, Kano, Prism. Notably only one Zen, even though Zen was the most represented deck at 4. And I think he got knocked out on round 1. So there were a lot of Zens. I think they underperformed at our event.
A smidge. Prism is kind of a tricky matchup for them, or at least it can be. And then I know the Zen who did top 8 it got knocked out by the Kano, and sometimes that's just Kano things. So Zen's still very strong, but yeah, you're right, underperformed a little bit.
Yeah, 2 of the Zens were in like the bottom 20% out of the 4, and then Jose, another local top 8 battle hardened Atlanta, he went he got bubbled on Zen. He was 9th.
Oh, okay. He was doing pretty good. That's too bad.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, I think you did a small shout out earlier, but yeah, our Donnie was in top 8. He was the Nu.
He was.
Donnie top 8'd. He was the Nu. And he played pretty darn well that day. It was a lot of fun.
All right, Noah, let's knock out that market minute. We're running it a little late this time, but not terribly so.
It's okay. I wish there was more to talk about in terms of card price. I mean, I guess there is and there isn't. I don't know. I no big speculative like twists, I guess, from the limited spoilers we got.
Get your cold foil spellbound creepers.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to do that. We've been talking about spellbounds and grass. You definitely want to get those. You definitely want to get your shock charmers. You probably want to get a Heart of Findle, because I still think it's going to be pretty ridiculous if you want to play Verdants. Is it needed? Yeah. Probably not. But we're going to just run through some cards that have kind of spiked a little bit. This has to be some kind of weird just what if, and that's Contest the Minefield. I don't think I'd ever say that card in the near future, but here we are. It's from Bright Lights. It's an expansion slot. It's blue. It costs 2. It blocks for 2. Pitches 3. Wizard action aura. All heroes get -1 intellect at the start of your turn. Destroy this.
I always thought that card was cool.
I mean, I did too, and I thought like Icelander might be able to sneak it in, or like it was for another wizard down the road, And then we're getting a couple of wizards, but I don't know if it's that wizard down the road yet. I
It
don't know.
might be because it's an aura and that people might be speculating there's a lot of interaction with auras, but the only things we know the interactions with so far is sigils specifically.
That's what it, because his weapon only cares about sigil auras?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a huge increase, but the fact that it jumped from anything like short of $1 and or less in some cases, I mean, I guess it's roughly like $1, $2 card. It's at $5, $6. I mean, that's people are buying it. I don't know necessarily why, but people are. It's going up. It's on the radar. I put it on the map. I'm looking at it. I don't think it's real though.
You gonna buy
the
like
next one's
20 of them?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I actually have enough contested minefields. I might. And this isn't a card I speculate on. There's a lot that I'd buy like 20 or 40 of, and it's not contested minefield. Not yet, at least. Could be wrong though. Aether size continues to go up. The counter spell. I know we talked about Aether size. Aetherize. Thank you for that. Could be Aether sized. I don't know exactly what that would be though. But Aetherize is a Crucible of War. Majestic. It's a wizard instant. Blue. Cost 1. Does not have a block value. Pitches for 3. Negate target instant card with 1 or less. This card does not resolve. Put it into this owner's graveyard. It's got some nice flavor text. And it's climbing up from its like last price when we talked about it, maybe at like $3 to $4. It's up to $7-8. So it continues to climb. People continue to want to put more counters in. I know there's that other card that counters instant, so maybe it's time to not let anybody have any fun.
I like the art of this card. It's like Salt Bay.
Aetherize?
Yeah,
I think that was the first Majestic
sprinkle.
I opened back in the day. In the card game of Flesh and Blood.
Oh, that's sad. I don't think it was good when it came out, was it?
I didn't play when I was cracking these packs, so I was just like, ooh, this artwork's pretty.
Yeah, it's nice artwork.
All right. We have a card that is Earth only, Earth action. It's an interesting one. This card spiked initially. I took notice of it. Not during the podcast, because by the time we were going to talk about it, it literally tanked again. And that was Tomes of Harvest. And so it shot up to maybe like 5, like right on the 5-ish mark. And then like everybody was like, oh, this is cool. And then like everything else, it shoots up really fast because it speculates. It just dipped. Now it's back on the upswing again. And Tome of Harvest is an Earth action from ELE, so Tales of Aria. Blue, blocks 2, costs 3, pitches for 3. As an additional cost to play Tome of Harvest, put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. Draw 3 cards. Go again.
Now,
so
I was
Staple
already
in Briar.
Is it?
It was in Briar back in the day.
Okay, it like you kind of just use it on your go wide turn to have that one extra card.
I was more so to bail you out, and because it was an Earth Blue, you were actually never that thrilled to play it. But it was like, oh god, this hand needs to be better. Tome.
Yeah, that works. It counts as your action played for a Rune Blade, right? And it doesn't actually cost you a card because you net a card off of it. I dig it. I wish I played those heroes. That they were kind of all on their way out by the time I started playing in Dynasty.
Yeah, they were. I mean, Briar was close, and then she got like right up against the threshold.
I loved having her around for that last little bit extra. That was when I played her the most.
It was so much fun to just sit down across and just get absolutely toxic, force to nature channel that heroic off of like turn 1 and just sit there and go, that's really neat.
I discovered that probably the same time as a lot of people did it back in Tales as well, but I was just sitting there goldfishing Briar like way back when in my Fab career, and I did that turn with Channel My Heroic and Force. I was like, guys, I broke it. And nobody believed me. They're like, oh, you did 47 damage in 1 turn? Uh-huh. I was like, I did!
It happens. I mean, it's a deck. It's like watching Zen go off for 54 points. Like, I mean, the deck can do it. The deck can do it.
So much harder for Briar to get it to line up.
Oh, dude, wait. Rune Blade shit out the wazoo.
There was some hints. There was some hints this weekend that something Briar flavored is going to be in Rosetta.
I would love that.
Which makes sense.
It is
Now-
Earth Lightning, yeah.
I think people have speculated like it
She's
might
going to be the gold pack.
Yeah, it might be a new hero that they shove into a gold pack.
Oh my god, that's so crazy.
Or
I hope it's what they do. I would love that.
this would be the first instance of them printing a card for a hero that was in Living Legend. I mean, Dromai got a card posthumously, but
It's true, but I think that one...
yeah, they designed that card and put it in before she hit Living Legend.
Mm-hmm.
This
It's
would
also
be
bad.
This would be like they knew Briar was
Let's-
Living Legend, and she was. They were making a card just for her.
Let's be real, just like all the other dust from whatever cavern, they were all just as terrible as the other.
No,
Dust
There's
from-
one that's good. The
Yeah,
Chromite
Chrome.
Dust.
The
The
Chromite
chrome
du-
one, but that's not the one that they brought out, the most recent one, okay?
No.
Chromite Dust was sweet.
Chromite Dust was good. The Mirror
One
Guy
out
Dust, though,
of-
that's
one
like
out of,
gluttony.
6.
It's like, I don't need no Phantasm on my no Phantasm dragon. I'm fine. Like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't really understand the Mirror Guy Dust, other than it was clearly a flavor choice, right?
Well, yeah, that's good flavor. Yeah.
So Tomes of Harvest, it's like $5-6 again. It's on the upswing. People like it. People are going to speculate on it. More
I need
power
to
to
sell
you.
some Tomes of Harvest.
The next two cards are more of just a do you have it, and if you don't, kind of a thing. You might want to take a look at it. One, Storm Striders, like, because I hope you have them, because they're like at 125 now. This has had the biggest like flop ever. This is the Arcane Rising. I will say, if you don't mind white border, they are adequately priced. At $61, I think the current one was. That
It's not
might
that
be
bad.
like a light plate or whatever, but it beats $125 from Arcane Rising, because that card has overnight, pretty much, well, not overnight, but for a while now, has been climbing. I mean, ever since we talked about it and it was first announced when it shot up. And these were just not a month ago, $85 boots, $70 boots, and they're well on their way back up, and they're only
There's
going
a
to
lot
go
of
up
people-
more.
There's going to be a lot of people who wish they had scooped it up at 70.
Right now, get yourself a pair.
They're
The next
not going
card
to make
is
better boots for Wizard either.
No, shut
Oh.
up. They might do like
No,
a
no.
Enigma treatment where it's like a different flavor of boot, kind of like how
Mhm.
she got the, whatever they're called.
This one you don't have to go too crazy on. This is another one I think if you don't have it, might be time. It'll probably continue to go down lower, but it's pretty criminal where it's at, and that's Flame Scale Furnace is actually pretty criminally low. I saw somebody else mention it and the other day, and I was just looking at it. This thing has trended down ever since, obviously, Dromai left, which it was a pretty heftily sought after card when Dromai was in. But we're down to almost $30 rainbow foils, which is quite low from its 50, 60 glory days. It's trying to get cold foils, which I know are absolutely just criminally low. $70 for a cold foil, and they used to be like $150 on an easy day.
That's crazy.
And there's no good draconic hero, right? Because like Fi was the guy, and then now there's just too many people that do it better, right? So not yet. They're gonna bring back draconic. They will bring back draconic in some fashion.
And Furnace is just awesome.
And I don't see there being a better. I mean, it's temper. Okay, I was gonna say it's battle.
Good enough.
Let's compare
It's really
Kasaya
good.
and Furnace. One of these chess pieces is way more broken than the other one. The Kasaya just makes resources.
I was going to say, Kasaya just making resources for free for doing the thing you want to be doing. Kasaya's crazy. Did Zen really need that good
And
of a
then
chest?
you can make a Zen state token, which is not trivial. There's so many matchups that's really good in.
Oh yeah, you get a lot of value off that sucker.
Including Runeblade.
But Flamescale Furnace generally works towards that draconic game plan.
That's true. You're
and it
pitching so many
rewards you
reds,
for
yeah.
pitching your reds. It rewards you for playing your reds. Your reds turn into better resources, and it also works with Tome, which
It's got
is
cool instant speed tricks into Wizard as
Right.
well. You can like turn one red into 2 money, just like pow, while they're in the middle of attacking you. Like,
yeah.
it's
This
cool.
is
I mean,
this chess piece is
It was particularly good in Dromai
Super
because it
good.
said make an ash.
Yeah, that too.
Right.
I was still there were turns in 5 where I was like, oh, Furnace just saved my day.
I think it's pretty criminal. Tectonic plating is also still pretty criminally low. You could probably still buy a couple of those. I think tectonic plating is like $20 or below. because Bravo is also very not real.
Mm. And Victor's running around in a dress.
What can you do?
It's an
That's the
expensive
power
dress,
tunic, though.
so
It's a very expensive dress.
It's a
Make some
nice one
money.
too. But that's what I got. Still pick up your ice cards. Pick up your shock charmers. Pick up your grass. Really pick up your ice cards. I won't have anybody tell me I never saw it coming, because I promise you, it's out of the game. It can only come back into the game in one shape or form. Like,
We've also had a lot of people calling for ice lately too. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people who are saying we
Yeah.
miss ice. Was ice so bad?
there's an ice ranger coming in the near future. Okay, I promise.
yeah, I'd like a straight up, just purely
Just
focused on
pure
Ice
ice.
Ranger. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
I'd be down.
I mean, Shiver is still technically a legal card, right? There's just no hero
It's
that
true.
can play it.
Shiver is legal.
That's what we got.
We had some new cards come out.
Dude, I thought these were a joke.
No. It's definitely not. Sigil of Brilliance definitely isn't a joke. I think if the game plan is what we think it might be with Azalea, Sigil of Brilliance is going to be like a part of it. But we still don't know what the payoff is.
I want there to be a disclaimer that I knew there were sigils that came out. I didn't read all of them. I saw like the alternate art, the box toppers.
Yeah.
I did not know there was a new warrior card that came out, and I did not know that Gustblade was a real card.
It came out just recently. Like, you didn't miss it between last.
It came out like Saturday, right?
Yeah. So Sigil of Brilliance is the Azalea specialization that just got spoiled. It's a yellow no block lightning wizard instant aura. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. When this leaves the arena, draw a card. So this like allows you to send a card to the next turn, but you also trigger anything that says if you've played a lightning thing this turn, it counts that too, right? I think this card could be like incredibly busted, but it is a no block, like card neutral card, right? We need to see the payoffs for playing lightning cards. We need to see the payoffs for drawing cards. Hopefully it's not just Brainstorm, right? Though this card is like perfect for Brainstorm. It helps you get through your deck faster to set up for Brainstorm. If you have one out when you start the Brainstorm turn, that's just an extra ping of damage.
Agreed.
Cool art too. I bet that I wouldn't be surprised if this has a Marvel.
I think they said that all of the sigils are going to have Marvels. I'm not sure though.
That's a little interesting because some of them are kind of bad.
Well, I should rephrase that. I think no, it's the split cards that are going to be cold foil armory promos. So yeah, I don't know actually.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think we have really any hint on what the Marvels are going to be yet.
We'll find out.
Okay, the next one that Noah referenced is Unsheath's. Great Kasai art on this one. Super cool.
Better sharpened steel? Yes, please.
It is just a straight up better.
What I was saying.
It's just a straight up upgrade to sharpened steel. It's a red 3-block 0 cost. Your next sword attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks, if its power is greater than twice its base, it gets go again. So the only weapon I know of that this doesn't really target. I mean, I guess it doesn't target the sword. So obviously it doesn't target the axes. It doesn't target Dawnblade.
This is not.
You need another card
off the rip. We need to have a counter and or another card.
Yeah, a counter on it or another card. So I don't know if this is really targeted to try to make Dory better. And it seems like they might have intentionally designed it not to be part of Dawnblade.
The thing is it retroactive? In which if I attack react, then
it is retroactive because it just says when this attacks if it's but you can't. So
this is perfect.
But you can't use a reaction to push it above. It won't be retroactive to reactions.
Because it's only when it attacks, not while it's attacking. So when it first attacks.
Okay.
So it'd have to be a front pump or something.
So it'd have to be 2 front pumps.
Yes. So I don't think
unless you've already got a counter.
I don't think this is Dory. This is definitely this is maybe playable in Kasai. Mm-hmm. This definitely seems playable in Bolton. It almost seems like a card that was made for Bolton because this is always active on Raiden. Mm-hmm. Raiden's base is 0, so it just.
Well, I mean, it's active on Centauri as well.
Yes.
Which Kasai is just going to be able to 2 swing for free and reset Dynamo because like that's your go again. It's a front pump go again. So the first sword's coming in for 5, and then she's going to swing the other sword for 2.
Yeah. So you could play this, break a gold, draw a card, swing, throw Blade Flurry out, swing again.
Not too shabby.
It's pretty strong.
Now, Josh is theorizing that this card might enable more triple swing turns in Dory. I'm very excited to see if that comes to fruition, but we have no word from him.
Okay, but this is Centauri Saber's story, right? It's not Act's.
No, Dawnblade.
No, this is Dawnblade, is what he's saying.
Oh.
There's already because this is go again off the second swing, right? So so this is some weird shenanigans where that comes in from the second swing of Dory, enabling a potential third swing.
Okay. Yes, if you have a counter on Dawnblade, this card is stonks. Like, it's incredible.
We're gonna see if it's worth the effort, but Josh has been theorizing, and I'm
Iron
excited.
Iron Song Pride comes back in. Then this is a
Ooh.
Pride meta, then, right?
This
Because then you slide it right in as an instant.
I think you have to play Iron Song Pride if you're playing this. I know how much you love that card.
Look, there's a difference now. This is literally the best sharpened steel I've ever seen in my life. This also says, wait a minute, Dawnblade doesn't have go again, and he can't react to give it. And you're just like, yeah, it's just 6, bet. And then they block 6, and you get the Pride to 7. Oh, come on. It feels too good. We got to do it.
All right, and then our last card has been affectionately named Underwhelming Gust Wave.
Oh, did you come up with that, or is the community came up with that?
I think that's the community came up with that, but I
haven't
think
heard that, but
everyone
that's
collectively
fucking
in the
great.
mind can eventually get there because it is
Yeah.
Whelming Gust Wave with no text if you think about it.
Yeah, like
Okay.
at least it comes in for 4 naturally, but I just don't care.
It does replace Fluster Fist, right? Or maybe you get more 0 for force to throw in your deck for like a more value-oriented ninja. Anyway, it's a 3 block, 0 cost, 4 attack. It reads combo. If Surging Strike was the last attack this combat chain, this gets go again. But to note that Whelming Gust Wave also says this. It says if Surging Strike was the last attack this combat chain, it gets go again +1, and if it hits, draw a card. So
I want that one. Can I have more? Can I have more of those, please?
The art is fantastic on this. It features Katsu. It looks really good.
Right.
But why? Like, they're gonna see that Katsu is struggling a lot, and we already have Descendant Gust Wave, which is an amazing card, and Whelming Gust Wave, which is also an amazing card. I don't think Katsu's hurting for Gust Waves.
He didn't need a new Gust Wave. That's crazy.
He needs something to make Dishonor playable.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 3 bonds, you're already probably just going to get fatigued. You're going to be relying on the McGinty line, by the way, which this can't be a part of, if I recall correctly. I think McGinty line...
I think McGinty needs Whelming specifically.
Specifically needs Whelming Gust Wave.
This doesn't have Whelming in the name? Oh, nope. Damn.
You know what would have made this really cool? If this said, name a combo. If Surging Strike was last attack this combat chain, this gets go again. And name a card. This card becomes that card in addition to Gust Wave the second win.
It would make it so you could play other combo lines in addition to your Surging Strike stuff. Actually, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. That would have been really... It probably might have been too good. I don't know, but...
I mean,
that sounds great.
Is it okay if Katsu's kind of good? I think it is.
Yeah, I just feel like that's the kind of card that breaks like Break Tide or some of those other lofty combo cards wide open. But then again, those combo cards have done nothing.
Yeah,
since their introduction.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
who has 300
and then
Break
if they
Tides
accidentally
sitting
make
around?
something super broken, what do? They just ban that card back out. They could have been experimental. Yeah. As someone who really enjoyed Katsu for an entire season and played him a lot to practice and get good at the mental game you're playing, try to get those on hits through, I'm a little salty when I see Gust Wave the second wind.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
At least the second wind kind of like another word for fart.
Yes.
So it's just the fart card.
No, second wind is like if you're tired.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like
what's a there's some kind of wind.
You're talking about breaking wind.
Breaking wind.
Okay, maybe that I don't know.
But you would think Katsu's tired.
Gust Wave of the breaking
he's not
winds.
doing so hot. Second wind. It should invigorate him. It's not.
No, this second wind is him getting punched in the chin.
So are we going to get a majestic card that says Bonds of Ancestry on it somehow and Descendant Gust Wave on it somehow, or Bonds of Ancestry? I don't know. A Katsu specialization that says name this a card. if you reach some condition. There has to be, right? This can't be the card, because Brian Gottlieb said, wait, we'll fix Katsu. The fixes are coming in Rosetta. This can't be the fix. There's no way.
I think this is it. I think this is all he's getting.
No.
That's
There
so
needs to be a
bad.
payoff. So I think there's a payoff coming off of Gus Wave for the second win. There's got to be.
Katsu's coolest card is Dishonor, right? That is like the flavor of Katsu at the moment. Lord of Wind and Dishonor. This card does nothing for either of those cards.
Yeah.
Sigh. Rant over.
Agreed.
All right, we had a calling this weekend.
We did.
Yeah, on top of our little invitational, we had a giant calling in Manila. 222 players, very Zen dominated as expected. 43 Zen, 28 New, 26 KO, 20 Prism, 15 Victor, 12 Azalea, Leviathan, Enigma, 10 Riptide, 9 Dash, and then it kind of tapers off from there, going into a handful of Kanos, Dorinthias, Azuris. Probably the highest warrior representation we've seen in a hot minute, with 5 Dorinthia, 4 Bolton, 3 Kasai, and 1 Olympia. I think that's like a 400% increase in the number of warriors we've been seeing at some of these events. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by the meta, even after the Bonds of Ancestry banned. We see that Zen is just absolutely dominant, and dominant indeed. Because I don't know if you guys watched it. Do you know what the top 8 of Calling Manila was?
I know there was 5 of them.
5 what?
5 what?
Zens.
Yeah, no, like, let me see if I can guess which 5, because it had to be one of the top decks, right?
So in seed order, it was Zen, 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 New, Zen, Dash, KO, Zen.
So Zen had 5.
Holy guacamole.
I think there were 3 Team Blue Pitch in top 8 though. So
I think they were, no, 1 was on Zen, or 2 were on Zen. 1 was on New, yeah.
But like, that's such a stacked top 8. Having to play against those players is brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
All right,
super good.
So let's talk about the real plot twist of Calling Manila. I know we're kind of like brushing over. I actually admittedly didn't watch much of the 11 rounds leading up to top 8. But the real plot twist is, what do you think the finals were, Noah?
Well, if I was cheating, I would tell you what they were. But since I'm not cheating, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion, I would assume it'd be Zen versus Zen or Zen versus New.
It was New versus Dash.
Wow, look at that. My stats just went out the window. I would have never guessed. New's not surprising at all, because I just think New is just so unbelievably unfun to play against sometimes. Really fun to play. Okay. Really just fun.
But you would not have predicted the Dash.
Well, no, I wouldn't have. Never. But I know Dash is also one of those heroes that if you're ever going to like Dark Horse a safe pick, right? You just Dark Horse Dash.
That is a good point.
It was notably
surprise you.
It was notably a slab dash. Very, very defensive. Barely any mechanologist cards other than the gun items and some blue T-bones.
This was Inventor Extraordinaire.
Yes. Inventor Extraordinaire.
I saw some sources reporting that it was Dio. They must have just got that mistake.
No, it was Dash Inventor Extraordinaire. So I looked at the list and watched some of the games played. Imagine that you go, ooh, this card's pretty good against Zen. It was in Dash's list. Like every single card that you could remotely think that is playable against Zen. Amnesia, Weakest Link, This Round's on Me. Is that all you got? Every card that is potentially good against Zen was in that deck. And I think the Justin Q playing the Dash, I think he even fatigued a Zen in one of the matches.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive.
It has to be doable. It's got to be hard. But man, that's so crazy.
I mean, you're running 3 sigils. You're running like a bunch of defense reactions.
Spates, yeah.
You
probably
break,
Oasis.
You break the daggers with is that all you got, and get to draw a card.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Man, yeah. I don't know if I'd bring in the Zephyr needles for.
You have induction chamber, right? And you have the gun, and you block with your entire hand, including is that all you got? The chain breaks and you draw a blue, and you're just like, oh my god. Dude, is that all you? Yeah, especially if you broke a dagger with it, so you blocked 2.
That's a lot of value you can get off of that. All you got.
Drew a card and then shot for 4 off of 1 card. So good.
Yeah, that all you got is like made right now to just hose Zephyr Needle. Literally. Just hose it.
In the
Is
And
it a
it's
finals,
free
one-card
real
seat?
estate.
the
Gross.
finals, New versus
Yes.
Zen, I would totally suggest going to watch that match. It was really good. New versus Dash. It was really well played by both sides. You had some really good plays where you're like, oh man, who's gonna win it? Who's gonna win it? Especially if you understand how defensive Dash works. You're watching the life total and you're thinking she's almost there. Because if you like know the math, it's like if you can get the Exodia going at about 16 life, you're usually unbeatable. You cannot lose because you just go, you can't kill me. I'm going to shoot you for 12 plus damage, and then I'm going to do it again and again and again and again, over and over and over again until you die.
It's still some capability to block, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah,
tons of capability.
you only need to keep 2 blues.
Oh, gross.
And you get
at
almost the
worst, you
full
just-
engine every time. So you're blocking
see the
6,
hand.
shooting 12-ish, and it all depends like how many charges you start with on all your items. But if you start with like a fully charged gun package, everything's charged up, you go in. I think you get
You're
like
just
5 or 6
unstoppable.
rounds on 2 blues where you're just shooting for 12 plus.
Gross.
So the dash was at like 13.
Ooh.
And it just looked, she was there. She had it. The Exodia was ready. And even got an assist from the new because she banished a card with mask. And he's like, I don't need this purifier. Get that non-block out of here. So he had 1 purifier and 3 induction chambers, enough to end the game. And then came in with the dash at 13 and just set up this like crazy pump, dropped her to 4. And then it was just an amazing game after that. It's just nail biter both directions.
Cool.
I don't want to spoil everything that happens, but it was a fantastic game to watch.
You're not going to tell us who won?
I mean, you could go look up who won. It's easy to find out.
Wow.
It was new.
Was it?
It was new.
It was definitely new.
It's very exciting stuff. I'm going to watch that match because I'd like to see it play out. But I definitely heard that a new managed to take it down against the Dash. I didn't realize it was that much of a nail biter, though. That's pretty.
Yeah, I went
cool.
in not knowing who would win that and thinking to myself, I would think it's probably new because that kind of dash, she's going to have some blues that are scary.
Mm-hmm.
And she did. She had the one that gets rid of counters. That's a 2 for 4. The card name has left my mind. 2 for 4, discard it as an instant. And
oh gosh, what is that called? It stops tokens from being made,
yeah,
right?
it's a
Wait,
quote
Ripple
unquote
Away?
counter to codex.
Ripple Away.
Yeah, Ripple Away. So she has those in her. The dash had those in his deck, and those can be really scary, right? Free 4 damage at the end of a chain can usually, end the game. But yeah. So
Very cool.
Anyway, I think we have a few more minutes. I had a question I wanted to ask you as a specialist of Azalea.
Okay.
For people who don't want to play Mystic Heroes, I mean, they definitely don't want to play Zen. You've really stuck to your guns with this hero who's been out since the 2nd set of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
And traditionally, the first 2 sets of heroes have almost always been considered almost basically evergreen. They don't ever quite win. They don't ever quite get first place and get living legend points, but you could be incredibly successful on some of them.
Mm-hmm.
What is your secrets to success in this like super combo heavy meta when you're playing a deck that isn't combo? You're like controlling kind of mid-rangey, even though you have a lot of 2 blocks.
The secret is my dirty secret. I think Azalea is kind of a combo deck. You just do the combo every single turn, and here's the combo: 3 pumps and 1 arrow.
And if somehow you got a ponder and you death dealer draw the 4th one off the top, that's gravy. That's what we call the cherry on top. It don't matter after that.
Are there any mantras you like speak to yourself, like things that you do, make sure that you're doing every turn or every game that like more likely gets you wins?
Actually no. I'm pretty bad about stuff like that. I really just kind of take it, play it by ear in the moment. I definitely, play off of what I've learned and what my practice has taught me over, all the matches that I've played with her. But no, I take every match kind of right then and there, and I play it as it goes. But truth be told, aside from like a silly answer that she is a combo deck, uh, I don't know. Azalea's been pretty lucky for me because everybody I know is either like happily playing Zen or unhappily playing Zen, or they're on new, which is like the more interesting of the Mystic Heroes, I'd argue. Which all three of them are pretty interesting in their own right, but I think new has just the best flavor slash play
Oh, I
patterns.
think New is one of the most well designed heroes they've put out
Super
recently.
cool, yeah.
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 Um, and but basically, aside from that, it's like a lot of people who are not that thrilled with this current meta. They don't like playing against Zen, and then it's just a lot of the other combo stuff. Prism. Uh, is Victor even kind of being a little combo-y with all the might makers
He,
off of cast homes?
he
I don't know.
has a chance to do it, right? And
Hmm.
so I would say, yeah, maybe.
He seems like a very tried and true mid range though, because I think you can.
Anyone who's ever been bonked by like a spinal after 2 cast homes the previous turn will agree
It's
that
pretty good.
yeah, it feels like a combo deck.
But no, so there's a little bit of dissatisfaction in some of the parts of the community. But I've lucked out in that Azalea kind of. I shouldn't say she has one game plan because there's certain heroes that make you adapt. Like you can't sit down in front of a Victor and say like I'm going to do the same thing and just no block and keep shooting big arrows until you die. Like he's got enough armor, enough good block, and choke slam. And that's going to stop you dead in your tracks right there. So you got to adjust your gameplay there. But she's kind of lucky in that a lot of matchups you don't really treat them too differently. It's like I'm not going to block, so you better force me to. And I've got this strategy that I'm going to try and make happen. And sometimes it happens just really quite effectively. Like there's nothing quite as strong as a dominated red in the ledger for 13 or higher with a seek and destroy or a lace with inertia attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
It just
God.
breaks a fundamental strategy of this game. Like if you're on the back foot, you need to set up the arsenal and find your window to have an amazing crackback turn. Well, if I keep dominating arrows that say you don't get to arsenal, you're never going to get to employ that strategy.
Right.
So just that alone kind of makes her strong enough that I can just say like, sorry, Zen, you're not going to get to do what you want to do. Sorry, New, you're not going to get to do what you want to do. So and again, Zen can still just blow up and kill you in one turn, but it's just nice to know that I do have the potential to just stop him dead in his tracks. And Azalea's fortunately been able to do that quite effectively. And I'm also lucky that I liked her back in when I first was opening crew packs. I was like, oh, this chick is cool. And when
Mm-hmm.
you put the card in your arsenal, it feels like you're drawing back a bow.
Yeah.
And like I thought I loved those flavors back then. So now that she's good, it's like, oh hell yeah. No brainer.
She is literally the Dommy mommy.
Exactly.
Man, one of my favorite combinations of like cards is release the tension and seek and destroy.
Mm.
So
Oh yeah.
brutal.
Oh dude.
They
Or
can't
just
react out of arsenal, and then if they get hit, they lose their arsenal the next turn.
also just and that was a big eye-opening moment for me. I cut Remorseless out of the deck once upon a time before a tournament, and I still had a fine tournament in spite of it. But it was like a few weeks later that I sat down and I dominated a big Remorseless with a Seek and Destroy attached. And then when it destroyed their Sink Below afterwards, I was like, oh my god, how did I ever cut Remorseless?
Yeah,
Like
and not
it's
only
just such
that,
a combo wombo.
if
And
they
you can
keep
spot like sometimes you'll spot that they have a D-React in Arsenal, and you're like, oh, bet. Let me go find Remorseless.
and if they keep any cards at all, that remorseless just keeps getting +1s to it.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Now, I think you did give me some advice once when I was asking you about playlines, though, that you do prioritize having an arsenal at the end. Like if you could
Oh, that's true.
overextend for like 3 points, so you don't, because having the ability to use cross wraps
Hmm.
usually trumps that extra 3 points.
That's 1,000% true. I guess that's something that's so ingrained in my play now that I don't even think about it. But yeah, like the worst thing that can happen to you, it's really not even to keep that extra value for next turn and have cross wrap options. It's to stop the potential of having a no arrow hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you say like, I'm going to send this, I'm going to play this take aim just to get an extra 3 on top of this dominator, this non-dominated arrow because I want it to hit. So 3 makes it harder to block. Well, then you draw the hand of all pumps next turn. You've just lost.
Yeah.
Holding back that pump for your arsenal was your only way to find an arrow off the top of the deck, and you just let it go.
Right.
So that's very important. You're right about that.
Because you could cross wrap, opt. If you still don't see an arrow, you can bottom the card,
And then you got to blind it.
Then blind
Mhm.
Azalea.
And I think I did that once this past weekend, and it hit. So
Yeah.
thank goodness.
You get to potentially search. That's 6 cards. If one of your pumps is read the glide path, you've looked at 7 cards.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can usually find an arrow, so you got to protect yourself from stuff like that. Now, that being said, there are some matchups where that logic changes against new and certain assassins.
I was going to ask that. If
having
it
Arsenal's
changes
a
during
liability.
Assassin, yeah, it's almost a liability to put a card in Arsenal, even though like it's like part of the game plan.
You got to read the room against assassins. Sometimes you can tell, like, you're probably not going to disrupt my arsenal this turn, or if you do, it's just going to be leave no witnesses, and I could probably play around that. But generally speaking, against assassin, like, I'll say escrow it. Hopefully, I don't draw the all non-attack hand, but I'm not going to let them have like more leverage in this match because I try to stick something in arsenal. And then certain other matchups, I love to stick non-attacks in arsenal. But like anybody who can play warmongers, stick arrows in there. You want to be able to go arrows, snap, load another arrow, shoot it.
Right.
If you stick a non-attack in there, it's like an Arclight Sentinel that costs 0. That's a nightmare.
Do you run the new gloves in against
Into anything that could run warmongers?
The long draws? Yeah.
Yeah. Even if they like have said earlier in the tournament, like, oh, I'm not even running that card. If they're a deck that I know could potentially be on that card, I just bring it in. Because I don't want to be the person.
I think the extra block is nice too, especially for Zen.
Yeah, and sometimes
like
the +4 on it is amazing. I've bottomed 2 arrows that weren't pumping to dominate an arrow even bigger, like in late game off of that glove. I love that card.
Have you looked at any of the new cards that came in the Azalea Armory deck?
Yep, I actually did a stream the night before that tournament, all about the Armory deck. And admittedly, my testing that night was like kind of a rough draft of like, how can I make this work with my version of the deck? Not trying to do Sandscour Great Bow or like apply it to Riptide. I was like, how can I apply this to my current Azalea? And unfortunately, it was incredibly clunky, so I did not bring any of that into the tournament the following day. But there's something there. It just needs to be solved.
Right. It'd almost be like you just put it there, and it's like magical Christmas land if you happen to line it up. Line it up. What do you think of that pump? I were you trying that pump as well to have the extra
new
source
pump
aim counters?
I didn't actually put that one in just because it was the hardest thing to just shove into the deck. Like I was like, I can shove this armor in, I can shove in Stone Rain, we'll shove in a JJE now that we care about aim counters more. But that pump I couldn't really just like shove. But on the surface, I like it a lot actually. I think it's pretty good. It's cool.
I guess
I'm not positive if it's gonna be great, but
I guess if you're running Crunch Wrap, you can just run Point the Tip because you have an easy way to turn arrows face up.
Yeah. I've actually been looking at that card more. That might
Point
be
the Tip
something.
is pretty neat. Free aim counter on, I mean, like that's pretty good.
If we start running more arrows that care about aim counters, that sucker might come in. We'll see.
I mean, you do run some, like the Infecting Shot, you get +1 point.
Infecting and Drill, pretty good.
So Point the Tip turns into a 0 for 4. Drill Shot, it's kind of troll. It says you absolutely can't punch your armor against this to block. So that you.
Yeah, but you almost want to because you're.
No, you don't. No. If Drill Shot has an aim counter, you're not punching armor. Like it's better just to take the -1 counter. Like that's the funny thing about Drill Shot. If you get the aim counter on that arrow is incredibly annoying.
Oh yeah, because you can just destroy the armor. That's right.
Yeah.
So, are you excited about any of the heroes in Rosetta, or you think you're going to be sticking with Azalea?
No, I'm sure this is actually the first set in a bit. It's like, have I played any new heroes? Like Outsiders happened, and I think I was still probably riding high on Lexi for a while.
Yeah.
And then when she hit Living Legend, I think I jumped right onto Azalea. So I haven't really played any of the new heroes lately. Oh yeah, heavy hitters was Guardian and Warrior and Brute. No wonder. That's not my.
I thought you had a little
That's
stint
not my
with Prism.
wheelhouse.
Just a little stint.
Prism is always near and dear to my heart. Like I've got her built. I play her, so yeah, I guess that's a thing. But new Prism doesn't exactly scratch the illusionist itch that I need scratched. I still like her a lot, and I think she's very fun. But old school Prism, that was bae. That was bae. But no, this set has got me excited. I've always been a Ruin Blade guy, more so from the outside looking in. I got onto Chain late. I barely even played him. I got onto Viserai like barely before he got out of town. I guess before the ban happened, but in Blitz, I mean to say. And then Briar I loved, but I only got to play her like when she was sitting at that like 900 range.
Mm-hmm.
But I had some great tournaments with her. She was super fun. So yeah, getting new Ruin Blades, and I've always admired Kano players from afar. Like this is an exciting one. I could see myself diving onto one of these heroes, unless Azalea is just really strong into all of them, in which case ask her it.
I think Azalea will always be strong. I think
Probably.
having easy access to dominate and a card that says draw a card that sits on the board.
Death Dealer's so good. Unless Fatigue
Well, he
Guardians come
isn't.
back.
Yeah, it might
I don't
not
know.
be a guardian
Florian
that's
could
fatiguing.
could basically be a fatigue guardian. We could see
That's
it.
true.
Same thing with
Florian-
Verdance.
Ruin Blades have a hard time dealing with Azalea's shenanigans, though. We'll see. Oh yeah, Embodiments of Earth, he could block great.
Oh, he could block
Mhm.
real well because they'd be
We'll
creating
see,
more than
we'll
one
see.
too.
Oh my god, he could block for a ton off like one card. Okay, yeah, maybe Florian.
Yeah. He's gonna be like dominate. Hey, that's neat.
Let me block for 8 off of this non-attack.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he blocks
pretty
for
much.
he blocks for a ton off of like 1 or 2 cards, and then he pitches 3 and throws a Felling Crown at you for 8 that makes you lose a card.
Oh, gross. And I can't block it.
No.
yeah,
That's Azalea.
dude, blocking 8 is rough for Azalea.
I've started running Balance of Justice exclusively against Prism just because Herald of Erudition is a bitch. And you can't give up Tunic and Cross Wrap to stop it. You just
Yeah.
can't.
No. Do you run Perch Grapplers, right?
Not anymore, but they could very easily make their way back into the list. I know a few Azalea players I've talked to that for Prism they specifically run Balance and
Mhm.
Perchies so that they can stop 2.
2 of them,
I was
yeah.
like, I get that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's how I see it on Riptide as well. I'll run extra 2 blocks so I can stop 2 of them. Same thing with Zen, right? It's funny, the Zen matchup with Riptide comes so close, the math is so close a lot of times that it's just like, did you block out the Mauling Key? Yes, you won. Yeah, you saved 2 points of damage because you used your
There you go.
3 block plus 1 piece of armor to block Mauling Key and block 6 when you use 5 points.
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, I think that's all I've got for this week.
That was super fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Well, let's see. Will, where can everybody follow you at? What you got going on? Anything you want to shout out? Anything the card guys going on that want to shout out?
Well, first off, I'd love to shout out you guys for kind of spearheading making that Realm Invitational happen. That was super fun. It was cool to have like a bigger tournament in the local scene, especially considering it seems like LSS hasn't really been shooting a lot of big events to our immediate Atlanta area lately. We didn't get a single skirmish, which I shouldn't complain. I love the company.
Okay.
No,
we have
but
2 Blitz skirmishes at smaller stores, but no Living Legend skirmishes. And I kind of want to play Shane.
I was excited about playing Living Legend, and then I hear all the skirmishes that are potentially drivable. They're not. I think they're like 2 hours from me or whatever.
they're quite far.
But it's all Blitz. It's like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna drive that far for that.
Blitz is a stinky format right
Blitz
now.
is in a rough place right now with the heroes that are sitting on top. I mean, and it's hard to say because like if ever Yoji's in the mix, I think it's also just as awful. Because anytime you have a deck,
but yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh, then
like
again, I guess Zen's kind of keeping her out completely.
right.
Now, yeah.
There's like a weird triangle where you can't play fun decks that beat fun decks because there's Blaze and Zen that are literally just hosing the meta.
Yeah.
And maybe Enigma New Moon with the new slippers.
We'll see.
If I play Blitz, it's gonna be Lexi. Funny enough.
I played her at some Blitz event a while back, and I think I managed to take it down. It was just the Rain Razor's 3 of a kind's turns lined up. I was like, oh sweet.
I haven't
This is
heard
good
that.
output.
So God, I don't ever want to see Rain Racers 3 of a kind ever again. Like I'm so ill from that. But thank you for the shout outs for the realm. We definitely want to try and do that multiple times. Just to get something big going. I'd like to double. I'd like to see it 1,000 on 1K. Next time if we could. That would be the goal. Throw some cash at it. Award some cash to the top players. And then grow it from there. Because I think it could really be something. We've got a lot of good talent in the area.
Absolutely.
So if we make it worth it, I think they'll come.
Yeah. But and anyhow, I'm WillieB, member of the Card Guys, friend of these fellows. I hope my thumb is going the right way.
It don't
It
matter.
needs to
In the
go
video.
like to your
Oh.
They're all the ways are the right ways. Don't even worry about it.
But player for the Card Guys. You can follow me on Twitter, WillieBrad. I'm just a goofy, nice fellow. I'm not here to try and offer you too much, except for a smile and maybe a laugh. But
You're definitely good at both of those. Thomas, where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, you could find me on Twitter at Wet the System Fab, and if you're looking for me on Discord, I go by the same handle, Wet the System.
And you can find me at Big Max Fab on Twitter and twitch.tv/BigMax, along with streaming on the Siblings YouTube channel. And Donnie as well. Let's not forget to shout out Donnie. I think he's at Donnie K. Pretty much everywhere. He writes the Fabric articles. He's still writing the fabric.gg articles, and he's also most likely lurking around events and stuff, typing up on our YouTube channel. So shout outs to Donnie, who's being an adult and doing schoolwork and holding it down in the real world for us. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed catching up with us this week, and if you did, subscribe or follow depending on where you found us to catch us again next time. Until then, take care of yourselves, and remember, we are all siblings in cardboard. And you know what Donnie hasn't forgotten? He hasn't forgotten to discard his cards to pummel, because every good person, they discard their cards to pummel. Just do it. And cheat. And remember your IP penalties. Take care. See you in Tampa.